All praises are for Almighty Allah, the Creator, the Lord, the Master, the Sustainer and Cherisher of the entire creation. The All-Powerful One, the All-Knowing One, the All-Wise, the One who bestows knowledge and wisdom upon whomsoever He wills, the One who elevates ranks of whomsoever He wills, the One who admits into paradise whomsoever He wills, and deprives from paradise whomsoever He wills. He is the most just one, and He is free from all forms of injustice. He is the most kind, the most loving, the most compassionate, the most benevolent. Almighty Allah has set many paths to paradise. Some are more difficult than others. But there is one path which Almighty Allah has selected to make it from amongst the easiest paths to Almighty Allah. This does not mean that that path will not come with difficulty within this dunya, will not come with trials and tribulations, will not come with obstacles. It will be difficult. There will be ups and downs. There will be trials and tribulations. But this is a path, a special path, which Almighty Allah has selected, that whoever embarks upon this path, Almighty Allah will make the path to Jannah easy for that person. Which is that path? The special path that will be made easy. Our beloved Prophet, the solace of our eyes, the best of creation, the leader of all of the prophets and messengers, Sayyiduna Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, and this hadith is mentioned in Sahih Muslim, "Man salaka tariqan yaltamisu fihi ilman, sahhala Allahu lahu bihi tariqan ila al-Jannah. وما اجتمع قوم في بيت من بيوت الله يتلون كتاب الله ويتدارسونه بينهم إلا نزلت عليهم السكينة وغشيتهم الرحمة وحفتهم الملائكة وذكرهم الله في من عنده." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever travels upon the path in which one seeks knowledge for the sake of Almighty Allah, Almighty Allah, from the paths of Jannah, Almighty Allah makes the path of Jannah easy for that individual. And then the hadith continues, that there are no people who come and gather in the house of Almighty Allah, from the houses of Almighty Allah. يَتْلُونَ كِتَابَ اللَّهِ, they recite the Quran. وَيَتَدَارَسُونَهُ بَيْنَهُمْ, and they teach one another the Quran. They study the Quran, they teach the Quran. Except what? نَزَلَتْ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّكِينَةِ, that gathering, that majlisul ilm, gathering of knowledge that is taking place. Those that are coming to study the religion, those that are coming to teach the religion, Almighty Allah sends special tranquility upon them, special form of peace upon them. وَغَشْيَتْهُمُ الرَّحْمَةِ, the special mercy of Almighty Allah is bestowed upon them. وَحَفَّتْهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ, The angels come from Almighty Allah and they surround these individuals. This majlisul ilm, gathering of knowledge that is taking place, this circle of knowledge, the classroom that is taking place, the angels have surrounded this classroom. And then what happens? ذَكَرَهُمُ اللَّهُ فِي مَنْ عِنْدَهُ. Almighty Allah mentions to the angels. Almighty Allah mentions to the angels, look at my beloveds, look at my beloved servants. They are studying and teaching my beloved religion. Allah mentions them to those that are with Him, meaning the angels. Because Almighty Allah is proud of such a gathering. Therefore, if we are part of this gathering, of this circle of knowledge, of whichever opportunity we have to obtain knowledge of the religion of Islam, of the Sharia, of everything that is required for us to learn, then we will be from amongst those that have been mentioned in this hadith. The Quran mentions about those that seek knowledge, those that obtain knowledge and then pass on knowledge, and they live their life seeking and teaching knowledge. In Surah Al-Mujadila, in verse number 11, Almighty Allah mentions, يَرْفَعِ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ دَرَجَاتٍ. That those that have Iman, the condition is you must have Iman. You must be a believer. You may be a professor of Islamic studies at the university, but you're a non-Muslim. You do not fall into this category. You must be a believer, a person who submits to Almighty Allah. But along with that, if you are a person who seeks knowledge and passes on knowledge, Almighty Allah stays, Almighty Allah elevates those individuals' ranks. Allah keeps elevating the rank as much as they keep seeking knowledge, acting upon knowledge, spreading knowledge. Almighty Allah keeps elevating their rank, raising it, and raising it. And the real status will be shown on the Day of Judgment. When we stand in front of Almighty Allah, that is when we will know the reality of the status of one who seeks knowledge and spreads knowledge. Therefore, if we are also from amongst them, Almighty Allah will also bless us with this opportunity. This doesn't mean one has to commit to some form of full-time studies, whatever it may be, such as today, like Jum'ah, coming, listening to the speech, instead of coming very late, but rather coming early and listening and learning something new. And even if we knew something before, refreshing our memory, strengthening our Iman, and reminding ourselves that this is something that I need to improve on, I need to work on. The Quran mentions a rhetorical question. Almighty Allah in Surah Zumar, verse number 9, He poses a question, but He doesn't give the answer. A rhetorical question. Meaning the answer is so obvious that I don't need to give the answer. Because whoever this question is posed to, they already know the answer. What is the question, O Almighty Allah? قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. O my beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, say to them, say to the Ummah, say to your beloved nation, are those that have knowledge and those that do not have knowledge, are they equal? No answer was given, because the answer was obvious. That those that have knowledge are greater than those that do not have knowledge, because Almighty Allah has elevated their rank. So if we want to be from amongst those that have knowledge, we must seek knowledge. Because knowledge, how does knowledge come to us? How does understanding come to us? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has explained this in the hadith mentioned in Al-Mu'jam Al-Kabir. Ya ayyuhan nas, innama al-ilmu bit-ta'allum wal-fiqhu bit-tafaqquh. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam one day addressing the companions informed them that verily knowledge only comes by seeking the knowledge. And understanding only comes by seeking understanding. Do not think that all of a sudden it will all be bestowed upon us. That we do not need to go and study from a teacher. We do not need to put the effort in. But rather we will wake up and all the knowledge has been bestowed upon us. No. إِنَّمَا الْعِلْمُ بِالتَّعَلُّمِ. Knowledge will only come by studying, by seeking that knowledge. وَالْفِقْهُ بِالتَّفَقُّهِ. You may have knowledge, but you may not have true understanding. That understanding must also be obtained. So if one studies and obtains understanding, then one will be truly a student of knowledge. And when they reach a certain rank, then they are considered from amongst the ulama, from amongst the scholars. But the greatness about this path, that if we do seek knowledge, whatever knowledge Almighty Allah has given us the ability to do, whatever our age may be, it's not that after a certain age there's a cutoff point, that one is not able to study anymore. The only cutoff point is death. After that is too late. Before that, even 1 hour before, even 1 minute before, a person can still study whatever they can, as long as they have the ability to do so. One who seeks knowledge and then keeps seeking knowledge and becomes qualified and is from amongst the ranks of the people of knowledge, the scholars, the ulama, Almighty Allah mentions about them in the Quran. In Surah Al-Fatir, verse number 28. إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. That it is only the people of knowledge that truly fear Almighty Allah. That only truly fear Almighty Allah. We all want to fear Almighty Allah, our Creator. If there's no fear of our Creator, how will we enter paradise? We all want to fear Almighty Allah. But Almighty Allah is informing us that it is only with understanding and knowledge. When one has knowledge, then you are able to do justice of the fear of Almighty Allah. Because you must have the knowledge to fear Allah. Have the knowledge as to why you should fear Allah. Have the knowledge as to why you should not fear Almighty Allah. All of this involves knowledge. With the knowledge, one is able to benefit from true fear of our Creator, Almighty Allah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, this hadith is mentioned in Sunan Ibn Majah. طَلَبُ الْعِلْمِ فَرِيضَةٌ عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ. We would have thought maybe seeking knowledge is something which is for a selected group of individuals. Maybe it is not for me. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam closed that thought. That door was closed immediately with this statement. طَلَبُ الْعِلْمِ فَرِيضَةٌ عَلَى كُلِّ مُسْلِمٍ. Seeking knowledge is fard, is obligatory, incumbent upon each and every Muslim. Male Muslim, female Muslim. A child, an adult, whatever the age may be, it is fard, as long as the person considers himself or herself a Muslim. If a person doesn't consider themselves a Muslim, then it is not fard upon them, because they do not have Iman yet. But anybody that says, I am a Muslim, that believes in Islam, seeking knowledge of the religion is fard, is incumbent upon each and every one of those Muslims. May Almighty Allah give us all the ability to act upon this. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam went further in another statement, mentioned in Sahih al-Bukhari, that man yuridillahu bihi khayran yufaqihu fid deen. That when it comes to knowledge and understanding, it is only when Almighty Allah intends good for a person that Almighty Allah will give that individual understanding of the religion. Therefore, a person must ask themselves, do I truly have understanding of the religion? If I do, then Allah has blessed me with goodness, and therefore I want more goodness, I want more understanding of the religion. But if I have been deprived from the knowledge of the religion, therefore I am deprived from that special goodness that is bestowed by Almighty Allah. Therefore now the fact I am still alive, I have this opportunity to obtain that knowledge, obtain that understanding, so that I too can be from amongst those that Allah has bestowed goodness upon. May Allah make us all from amongst them. But remember, when a person makes an intention and becomes a student, makes an intention to seek knowledge, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned that something special happens. In the hadith mentioned in Sunan Abi Dawood, إن الملائكة لا تضع أجنحتها رضا لطالب العلم. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that as soon as a person becomes a student of knowledge, a seeker of knowledge, Almighty Allah appoints angels to lay down their wings in honor of that student of knowledge. The way the red carpet is laid out as a form of respect, a sign of respect for special guests in the Western world, they lay down the red carpet. When royal members are coming, they lay down the red carpets. But Almighty Allah, when it comes to the seekers of knowledge, the seekers of our beautiful religion, instead of laying down such carpets that can be worn off, that can become dirty, that are not a special creation of Almighty Allah, but when it comes to the seeker of knowledge, the teachers of knowledge, Almighty Allah lays down the wings of the angels. This is to show the greatness, the virtues of one who studies the religion, who passes on this religion. May Almighty Allah make us from amongst them. But remember that when it comes to the students of knowledge, the people that take on the sacrifices to study the religion, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Inna Allah wa malaikatahu wa ahla as-samawati wal ardina hatta an-namlata fi juhriha wa hatta al-huta la yusalluna ala muallimin nas al-khair. That verily Almighty Allah, verily all of the angels, verily all of the creation in the skies, all of the creation upon the earth, to the extent that even the ants in the hole, even the fishes in the ocean, they supplicate, they make dua, They ask Almighty Allah for forgiveness for that individual that has studied the religion and is now passing on that religion. Therefore, if we become from amongst them, we too will benefit from this. May Almighty Allah give us all the ability to study whatever knowledge that we can, to understand that knowledge, to act upon that knowledge, and to pass on that knowledge, so that it can become a form of sadaqah jariyah, a form of charity, which whenever it gets passed on to others and others, that reward will keep going up that chain, ultimately to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Almighty Allah make us worthy of that. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينَ.